Hey there, Prairie Plant Girl here. Well, it's pepper planting day, so I have several varieties of peppers that I grew from seed in my house, and they've been out in the greenhouse getting a little bit more accustomed to the light, and there's a fan in there, so they've been moving around, and now I've put them outside and I'd like to get them planted. Now we're scheduled to have a lot of overcast but warm days and nights, so it's a good time to get plants out if they haven't been like super well hardened off. They'll get more accustomed to things when the sun isn't as harsh outside, and it's not supposed to be really windy, so that's good for them as well, because the wind can be just as harsh on newly planted things as the sunshine can. So if the winds get up, I'll just put some stakes in around them and wrap some frost blanket or something, just something to block the wind for a little bit, just to slow it down and let them get more accustomed to it. But otherwise, they're just going to go out today. They're going to be going into this raised fabric bed here. Now, you may, if you've been following my videos for a while, recall I used to have 2 of these fabric beds, and they were in front of my greenhouse. But one of them actually I had folded up in my shed a couple of winters ago, and some mice got into it and chewed it all up. It just wasn't worth saving anymore, so I've tossed it, unfortunately. But I still have the one. It's holding up really well to the elements and the weather. They just don't hold up well to being chewed through by mice. So that's what I'm going to be using to plant my peppers. I already have a few ranunculus and I think some anemones in this bed planted already. I don't know how well you can see. There's a flower back there about to open. So most of my peppers will fit in there, and then I'm going to have to put a couple in where I have my garlic, but not all of my garlic came up, so that's perfect. It's right beside my pepper bed, and there's room for a couple of plants because I planted a few extra varieties that I hadn't planned on when I originally mapped out my garden. But before I can do any planting, I need to get this mess of irrigation lines that belong in this bed all fixed up. These were made to run out when the beds were in front of my greenhouse. A bunch of long lines, and they still have the weeping hose on them for irrigation, and I just find it doesn't hold up to life very well, and it cracks and breaks easily, and it doesn't distribute the water evenly because it'll get bigger holes in some places and not others. I'm going to be replacing it, and hopefully I have enough of this line with the drip tube. So this has emitters every 12 inches, and I'll just put that through my bed here. I don't know if I'm going to have quite enough of it, but I'll get what I can done, and I may need to pause the irrigation and get more supplies for it, but I want to get my peppers in, so I'm going to get as much of this laid out as I can so it's set up and ready anyways. So I have all my supplies, and I thought you might be interested in seeing how I do that. So I'm just going to pop the peppers out of my way real quick, and then we'll get as much irrigation line set up as we can. Okay, so now that the peppers are out of the way, we have a nice clear space to work with just the odd ranunculus or anemone in there. And I just need to access my water point and find my line and get them set up for the bed. So I had determined that this here is the line. This is just an attachment that goes, I used to have overhead sprinklers, and this is just the pipe coming up that the overhead sprinkler line used to be on. Actually used to be a taller pipe. I've changed it to the shorter one. And then you can buy these little screw-on fittings that you can hook 1/4 inch line to. And that's all I'm using for my garden beds. So then I've just attached the lines out. You can see I need to get a new shutoff for this one. It's broken off. But I have a little shutoff on each of these lines so I can control which beds are getting water when. Or I can just shut it so turn it down so one's getting less flow than another if I need to as well. It's a handy thing to have going to each bed. So I'm just going to access this line here. I'll probably just leave the initial line there. What do I want to do? No, I think I'm going to hook drip onto here, onto the shutoff area. I'll hook drip on this end, and we'll work our way from there. I'm just cutting off the old line here and just putting a slit so I can try and just snap the old line off, and then there's that little barb fitting there that I can just hook my new line onto. So I find it easiest if you have garden gloves to get a nice fresh pair that's a little extra drippy. And then usually you can push these on. If you can't get it pushed on like this, then you can heat it up with a lighter or a small torch or something, or even boiling hot water. And then they'll go on pretty easy. You see it's on the fitting now. And so now all I need to do is try and get this hose placed and stapled down in place. So it's pretty simple. I just have a bin with various bits and bobs here. So grab out a few landscape staples. It's good to have a few extra parts kicking around for when you need them. And I think I'm just going to go, because I don't have a lot of this line right now, I'm just going to go down the middle of each. There's 2 halves to these planting beds. So I don't know how well you can see, there's this out of your way. These beds are divided into 8 squares. So there's some fabric here, and that makes 1 square. And the squares are roughly 18 inches. I have this bed kind of squeezed in the space. They're not perfectly, but so we'll see if we can get all the way down and around and back up with this hose here, going roughly down the center of the bed. Oh, and I have a good amount of hose. So I'm actually going to put a T in here because it'll work better if this is all connected and water's going through both sides at the same time. So I'm going to lift this up. I need to cut it about here. And I'm just going to put a T fitting on. So it's just 3 ends. They're all open to the hose, and I can poke it in here. Like I said, they can be a little tricky sometimes. Just kind of wiggle it, spin it, turn it, however you need to do it. And like I said before, heating them up can help as well. But this is going on, it's just takes some pressure and finagling. Okay, so that's in there. And I'm going to cut this one, and then I can hook that in. So there, the connections are all hooked in there, and I can just pin it down the rest of the way. And that'll be good to go. Now I could go across and put a T in and put some water across in each of these spaces with the hose that's left over, but I think there's at least 1 dripper in each hole, and these aren't really big spaces, so I'm gonna just leave it for now and know that I can add those in if I need to. I have the hose to add a connection from here to here, and then again in the next 2 with just a T if I think I need more water going in those squares. But I think I'll be okay like this, so I'm gonna start with that, and I can always easily add more later if I need to. So now that I got the important bits done, I can start into the fun bits, right? So the planting is always what I enjoy the most. The fiddly bits just are something that needs to get done. So I'm gonna get my peppers in. I have, I believe, 10 varieties of peppers that I'm putting in today. And I have them all written out on a map here, except for the North Star, because it was a last minute kind of purchase that I made of seed that didn't make the map. So those are the ones that are going to go in right there. That's where my garlic is, but it didn't all come up, so perfect space for those. I'm just going to start down there and work my way this way, following my map so I know what is what. I'm just going to be digging a hole, putting a little bit of this fertilizer in. This is an organic based tomato, fruit and veggie fertilizer that Miracle Grow uses. I'm not fussy about brands. I often go to the ProMix brand if I can find it, but if I can't, I'll get whatever else is out there. I try to, when I'm growing my food crop, go to the organic or organic based products. And this one definitely, I would say, is organic. It's probably just hasn't gotten through enough trials to be certified yet, but it just smells a lot like bone meal and blood meal and that type of thing. So I think that's mostly probably what it is. But I'm just gonna dig myself a hole, plant the peppers down in it. And when I'm doing my peppers, you can see most of them are gonna be growing with 2 plants in a pot. And I'm going to plant them just like that so that they're close together. I'll put a stake in and that'll give them some support. And I will take the bottom few sets of leaves off just to encourage some air circulation as I go along. So I'll just trim them down like that, just to allow more air circulation. First peppers I'm going to be putting in are the jalapeno Monet. So these are a hotter jalapeno pepper. I'm just gonna dig down on either side here. There's a drip spot right here, so that's perfect. And like I said, I wanna just take off these bottom leaves just to get good air circulation around and through the planting. Little fertilizer in there and mix it around. Just gonna put my 2 pepper plants in here. So this one only had 1 plant in the pot. I don't know if one died off or what happened there, but it'll just be all by itself. And I'm just gonna put a stake and tie them to the stake. So you come here. This will just give them some extra support and help them with the wind. So I'll put some ties on that one as well. For the initial tie, while they're so close together, I can probably just put both of those like that. I may need to come in and put more stakes on the side so they can spread out a little bit. This guy might need another tie at the top right now. We'll see how that goes. So I'll put their little plastic labels that were in the pots in with them. But I have my map, so I should know what's what. So down on this side of them, which you probably won't be able to see very well, but I just wanted to get that one while it was within my reach. I'm gonna put just a mild jalapeno. I'm just gonna dig a hole, try not to disturb the anemones too much. A little bit of fertilizer. I wanna get those bottom leaves off. And you can sink them down a little bit deeper if you want, just to help give them a little extra support in the wind. If you're in a windy location, that can help. And I'll put one over here a little bit. And some stakes in. Tie them off. There. So I'm just going to keep going through and do them all up, and I'll maybe give you a little bit of closer look when I get down to your end there, and can have one more look at what I'm doing a little closer. If I don't get rained out here, it's starting to rain. Yeah, no, I think I need to put the camera away. We'll have to finish this later. So there's rainstorms all around me, so I'm just going to keep going. I set you in the greenhouse, and we'll see how that works out. So the next peppers I'm planting are California Wonder. And they're a little bit smaller than the rest. They just took forever to get germinated and growing. But they're nice healthy plants, and really they're a little bit nicer size to be transplanting, especially this one here, than some of the rest that I have that just were loving their life in the inside. So next to the California Wonder is going to be Sweet Sunrise. If this rain gets much heavier, I will have to go in, but it was just a nice sprinkle, so I thought I'd just keep going. Well, these will be the last ones I can do for sure. This is a little more rain than I want to garden in. So in this spot here, I'm putting a Serrano. This is Pathfinder. I won't be picking as many off of those as frequently, so I'll put them kind of back in a harder to reach spot. And then I'm going to put beside the Serranos a hot wax in that same square. Again, because I won't be picking those as often as some of my other like sweet peppers. So I'll put them in a little bit harder to reach space here. My sweet lipstick are going to go over here. All right, 2 squares left. And it's gonna start raining again, of course. Okay, so here is candy cane. Okay, while I'm back in the greenhouse, I still have, what do I have left? My page is just soaked. Luckily I have it in a plastic sleeve, but I think even the paper inside is getting damp. So I have my early prolific, and what did I say that new variety is called? North Star? It's kind of bell pepper. Can't remember what's it called. I think I have one left over in here. Yeah, North Star. So it was a new bell pepper. I can't even remember offhand what it's like. I feel like it was a yellow pepper, maybe an orange pepper, something like that, but a bell pepper, a sweet pepper anyway. So like I said, I have those 2 varieties left to plant, and I will, as I promised, once the weather settles down here, get you in there so you can get a better look at what I'm actually doing to get them planted. It's not like it's super complicated or anything, but if you've never planted peppers before, you might want to see that. I made good progress, and the peppers are out there. I don't need to worry about watering them in because they're going to get rained on real well, and the 2 varieties that are left are standing up there in their pots, so they'll get watered as well. So that's excellent. At least they're getting some nice rainwater on them. And I got the water line, the sprinkler line fixed in there. So that's just one more thing ready to go for the season. I do have a few extra peppers left that didn't get planted. And I gave a few away to a friend already that had wanted me to grow a couple varieties for her. So she's already taken hers. So I'm gonna have to try and find homes for the rest of these. But that's another thing in the garden now that the weather seems like it's going to be warmer finally again. I mean, we were still having frost warnings last week, but I mean, in Saskatchewan, you never really know. It could snow next week, but we're probably safe now for a couple of months from the freezing weather, I hope. So, like I said, we'll come back to this and have a look at the last couple of pepper plants getting planted whenever the weather settles down. We have rainstorms kind of all around us looking at the radar, so won't be too long to wait for you, and we'll see you when the rain stops. Every time I clean up, it stops raining. So I left my little map inside because it's getting very wet and I don't need it anymore. Grabbed a couple more stakes because I'd run out, and try and get these last couple planted here. Now this square seems to have gotten pushed out of shape. Try and make some room for peppers here. And this variety, I think I said already, is early prolific. So these are a nice pepper. They don't always produce a lot earlier than my other peppers for me, but it's a bell pepper and it does produce quite a bit. They're a little bit smaller in size, I'd say, than like your California Wonder, but it is already producing peppers right now. So try and get a couple of these in here. So I've just dug my hole down, and I'm just trying to plant them anywhere from where they were growing in the can to, you know, a few inches above that. And like I said, just a little bit of fertilizer down in the hole where they're going. Just give them a good push down in there. Put a stake in. Try to get it kind of centered by them. And I get the little ties here. So when I do the ties, I put it around the plant and then I'm crossing it over. So hopefully you can see that. Put a little crisscross in the tie like that. And then I'm tying it around the stake on the other side of the crisscross. And that just gives the plant a little bit more room to move around without rubbing on the stake and getting the stem damaged that way. Okay, so we'll put the other one right here. There's my sprinkler line. There's an emitter right there, so I'll dig a hole next to the emitter. A little bit of fertilizer in the hole. This one doesn't have a lot of low-growing leaves, but we'll pop that one off. So again, early prolific, has a few peppers on it already. Push it down in the hole, slide some soil back over it. The stake. And I just take the tie. Now, like this one's split in 3 directions, I just take one of those spots. I put my cross in it, hopefully you can see that there. And then wrap it around the stake and twist it on. Same thing. Wrap it around. Twist it on. Looks like I'll be picking peppers before I know it. I used to come around and pull all of these off before when they're growing inside. I'm not sure it really makes a difference, and it's a short season here in Saskatchewan, so the sooner I get peppers, the happier I am. So this is where my garlic is supposed to be growing, and I have a few plants. Most of them are up along this row here. There's one coming in there, another one in back there. But there was 3 varieties that I planted. I can't remember what they are offhand, and they were in rows. So I'm thinking that this variety was not happy at all to be here over the winter. It is also closest to the edge of the bed, and this other bed wasn't here, so it would have been very exposed to the cold, so they might have just been too cold and rotted off. This middle variety, maybe a little more tolerant to the cold weather, but not as much. And then this looks like was the happiest. It's also the one inside, the furthest in the bed, but over here should have been just fine for growing garlic this far into my raised bed. I don't know what to say. We did have kind of a weird, really freeze-thaw kind of winter with a lot of really cold between the thawing. So yeah, you win some, you lose some in gardening, and I guess I lost some of my garlic, but not a big deal. I'll still get some, and that's all that matters. But it gives me a free space to put some of these peppers in. And I do have a few glads, so I have to be careful. Remember, if you saw the video, I planted some gladiolus and they're starting to poke up. So there's one here that's a little bit larger. There's one just poking through here. There's one here. So they're all along the very outside edge. So I'll probably like put a pepper here and one on the other side over there, and that'll be my North Stars. Actually, I could put one here. There's room, and then it's easier to pick. So I'll put this one on this edge. And if there's room, I'll put the other one closer to the other edge. And then all my peppers will be done. And now the sun's shining, it's getting hot again. There's an emitter right here, so that's nice and handy. And I think we can dig this out without disturbing the garlic or the gladiolus that are growing here. Oh, there is a garlic trying to grow right here. I don't know if you see that. Well, what do I do then? Maybe we'll just move it up here between those 2 rows a bit. Let that garlic do its thing. Oh, just got some extra fertilizer. Fertilizer again. So these are North Star, and these shouldn't bother the garlic. It might be a little trickier. Oh, I didn't take the bottom of these off. It might be a little trickier to harvest the garlic with these plants here, but I should be able to get in there still. So there is some garlic coming along here. Now, where's it going to be safe to dig for this one? try here, see if we run into garlic. Oh, it looks like we're safe here. So I'm looking forward to trying this North Star. I don't think I put any fertilizer in that hole. Somewhere on the edge. Well, that might be some of the most disjointed planting of peppers I've ever done in my life. But the sun was just out and I was burning up out here, and now I can feel the clouds are going back over the sun, and I think we're gonna get another rain shower. So I've got the peppers done now. Like I said, hopefully there's rain, I'll water them in well. If it doesn't, I'll come out here in an hour or so and give them a good drink. But it does seem like we have a lot of rain showers going right around our area here, so I'm sure one of them is gonna hit in here and get them nice and watered in. They're all done. I look forward to having a big bounty of peppers coming my way soon. If you haven't seen any of my pepper videos before, I think I have a playlist on it, so I'll put a link for you so you can check them out and just see just how many peppers you can grow here in Saskatchewan, Canada. You know, up here in the Great White North, we can still grow peppers. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.